Alright guys, just want to talk a little bit about the sort of experience we've had coming out of the restaurant now. I just want to go over some of the stuff that's worth noting. So I know a lot of people have this idea of having a bar and stuff in Spain. There's plenty for sale, and that should be a good sign of something you need to be aware of relating to doing business in Spain. Reality is that if you're the owner and not operational, I assume, because obviously this is the way this one was set up, they're still going to want social security payments from you. And in the sense of the owner of this one, he's already retired. He's retirement age, well past it. But they still wanted the money off him every month, even though he's got his own private healthcare and everything else. So that's something to note, because there may be ways around that where you can put an employee on it instead, or there's a way to get round paying that social security if you don't actually need it and will never get any use out of it. But that's something to investigate yourself, because I find a lot of the accountants, lawyers, etc. don't really put an effort in to try and save you money. There's always a reason to spend more money. Because, for example, in the UK, I've spent more on accountants before, and they've actually saved me more. But then again, they're actually going out there proactively and telling you, you can claim for this, do this with a vehicle, etc., because it's then a deduction rather than an asset, and all these sorts of things. But don't really experience it too much in Spain so far. I mean, there's obviously got to be good accountants net out there, but so far I haven't experienced it. So you've got to be aware that these charges will start hitting you quite quickly, in the sense of lawyers, accountants, whatever, are often expecting to be paid on the drip. Personally, I recommend doing a bit of research on it, speaking with other business owners, and trying to get an understanding of what other people are doing already, because a lot of these guys have been here for a long time, so they'll know the loops and holes that you can get through to save yourself some money. It's just befriending them enough to let them give you that advice. But to be honest, if you've been fleeced by accountants and lawyers, then you may be more than welcome, more than open to share your advice to other people, because you went through the same problems. So you got your social security payments. The accountants and lawyers want payments every month as well, and yet I'd recommend actually researching this a lot more than I have so far myself, because I know as a handyman that I know, he does his own submissions every month. He doesn't pay for anybody to do it, and I don't think it's that complex. I think it's quite simply just spending a bit of time getting your head around it, and you'll probably find you can do most of the work yourself. The other side of this being, because they charge you hundreds a month, don't get me wrong, you're paying a lot for very little in return. Social security, I mean, that's about 300 a month for them to process that. Then dealing with staff payments and stuff like this. But I've found, I think if I put a bit of time into doing the accountancy side, I could probably work out how to do accounts for everybody myself. You know, a lot of this is a case of, it's not overly complicated if you find the right people to do it, or do it yourself. It could be a big saving in the long run. Electricity as well. The electricity bill is based on the expected usage. So one of the things I do recommend is taking a look at the usage they're actually using, or expected to use, because if your three-phase electrics are installed and yet you don't use them, you may actually find it's cheaper to go back to them and say, I don't use that amount of electric, I need my tariff adjusted. These little things make a big difference on your running costs, and that's one of the things I will say. With my experience of going into this one, a lot of the problems that occurred in the business was the way it was set up. And the reason I bring all this up today is I know a lot of people want to come to Spain, open a bar, open a restaurant or whatever. Be aware there'll be a long line of people looking to fleece you, and I do say that because I want to put an emphasis on being aware that they're not your best friends. They're there to make money, and they're there to make money from you. So the more you challenge it, look around it, do research before you even open up, the more likely you're going to have a business success. Because Social Security is one of those ones where even if you're not going to use it, you still have to pay it. And if you have staff, be aware that I find a lot of the restaurants in this area are paying a lot of people cash in hand, and I find that it's quite common in Spain where people have a part-time contract so they can pay the minimum contributions and then get the other in cash as well. That's another thing that goes on quite a lot in the tourism industry, hospitality industry. So be aware that a lot of the competition isn't going to be equal, because if you're doing everything by the book, you're paying through the nose where a lot of people aren't. But another thing is, don't expect to pay people more to get the same quality and commitment that you're putting into it, because a lot of the time people are just seeing it as a clock on, clock off mentality, even if you're paying them extra. My personal view on it is treat them like an employee, and go at market level, and if they are actually providing you a worthwhile service, then look at it later. Or move it on a short-term contract, on a part-time basis with extra hours available, this sort of thing. I know it sounds a bit unfair, but if you get on the other end of it, you're constantly dealing with politics from people that quite simply you don't need, don't want, and the system is set up in many people's favour. This is one of the things around the legalities of Spain. But it's the same in the Philippines. It's one of the reasons that hinder employment, because of too many protective rights. So people try and avoid employing people. I'm not getting into socialism and all that sort of stuff. I'm just saying, have a look at it yourself. But anyway, I just wanted to cover those sort of things. But I do think if you do your research, there is still opportunities here. Just be aware that a lot of the stuff that fails on a regular basis, people have no understanding of business, haven't done a restaurant before, haven't done a bar before, don't realise how many hours you put into these things, don't understand how to deal with breweries, because you can get some investment off the breweries because you're a freehold. It's the same in the UK. If you own the place, the breweries want in there, they want their beer there, and they'll offer you a lot of stuff to make that happen. So there is opportunities there, so take that on board as well. But if you think you're going to have an easy life running a bar or restaurant in Spain, if you're just retired, just retire. I'll be straight with you, because quite simply it is a headache, it's a constant burden. And if you want to do something a bit different, in the sense of maybe you want your own restaurant or whatever, there is opportunities there, especially around quality stuff. I mean, I've got to admit, I can see opportunity having a decent restaurant here in La Mata, but at the same time, I would recommend not following the trend of everybody else, because the majority of places sell everything. They're Tex-Mex, they're Indian food, Spanish food, you name it, massive menus, which means a lot of the stuff is obviously frozen. I do think there's a market for good quality food. I do recommend doing a bit of focus if you are interested on that sort of stuff, if you're moving to Spain. There is clients around, there is people that are interested in a higher class of food. But do your own research. Thanks for watching.